Okay, here are the checkpoints. I want to make sure that I went over them. All right, so again, what we do is we look at the square root of 12. That's not one of our perfect squares. Remember, I gave you that perfect squares table where we had that 144, 121, 100, 81, 64, 49, 36, 25, 16, 9, and 4. All right. So again, here's how we take care of this. What we do is we see if this is on the 12 is on the perfect square table. It's not. So what we do is we take half of 12. Now, we take half of 12 because we only have to check the perfect squares that are less than that number we get. So half of 12 is 6. So 6 would fall right here on the perfect square table. So we only got to check the ones that are below that. Well, the only one below that is 4. And we say, okay, will 4 go evenly into 12? And the answer is yes. 4 goes evenly into 12. In fact, it's 4 times 3. So we would make this into the square root of 4 times 3. All right. Then what we're going to do is break this up. We make it into square root of 4 times square root of 3. And then square root of 4 is 2. So we get 2 root 3. And that would be our answer. And it is simplified. All right. So now if we look at this one, root 15, not on the perfect square table. 3, not on the perfect square table. So what we could do is we could actually multiply these numbers. All right, so we can get root 15 times 3, which gives us root 45. All right, so root 45, not on the perfect square table. But if we take half of that, half of it would be 22.5. All right, 22.5 would fall right in between 25 and 16. So we only have to check the ones below that. So, is 45 evenly divisible by 16? And you can do that in a calculator to figure it out. You just do 45 divided by 16. If you get a whole number, then it's evenly divisible. If you don't, then it's not. All right, so it wasn't. So then we check the next one. We check the 9. So 45 divisible by 9, and the answer is yes. All right, 45 is 9 times 5. So we make that into 9 times 5, and then we break it up, root 9 times root 5, and the square root of 9 is 3, so we get 3 root 5, and that would be our answer. All right, then here's that fraction one. Again, with the fractions, all you got to do is look at the bottom number. Is it a perfect square? And the answer is no. 3 is not a perfect square. It's not on our table. All right, so we have to make it into a perfect square. Most of the time, you just multiply it by itself. So if we multiply the bottom by 3, we have to multiply the top by 3. That would give us the square root of 21 over 9. Now it's a perfect square. Now we break it up. So root 21 over root 9. Square root of 21, half of it is 10.5. The only one under 10.5, well, we have 9, doesn't go evenly. 4 doesn't go evenly. So that doesn't simplify anymore. Square root of 9 is 3. So we get the square root of 21 over 3, and that is our simplified answer. All right, so those are the answers for the checkpoint. That checkpoint. All right, the other one. Here we go. Solving this. Again, we think of this as act like this is an x to start off with, so we're just going to add 4. We get x squared equals 18. Then we have to get rid of the square, so we square root plus minus. So I get x equals plus or minus. Now we got to break down that 18. Well, half of 18 is 9. 9 is a perfect square. So we're going to make it into 18 becomes 9 times 2. And then we break that up. Plus or minus root 9 times root 2. And then we get x equals plus or minus. Square root of 9 is 3. Can't do anything with root 2. So we leave it. So we get x equals plus or minus 3 root 2. All right, the second one. Again, we act like that's just an x. We subtract 3. Gives us x squared equals 10. Square root, plus minus. Now we got x equals plus or minus 10. It's not a perfect square. We divide it by 2, we get 5. The only one under 5 would be the 4, and that doesn't divide evenly into 10. So that's our answer. We're just going to leave it. X equals plus or minus the square root of 10. All right? And then number 3. Again, we divide by 3 because we're stacked in like this is an x. So that gives us x squared equals 8. Now we got to get rid of this square because x is by itself. So we square root, plus minus. So we get x equals plus or minus. All right, 8's not a perfect square. Half of 8 is 4. 4 is a perfect square. So we change the 8 into what it's equal to. It's equal to 4 times 2. And 4 is our perfect square. So it gives us x equals plus or minus square root of 4 times square root of 2. We get x equals plus or minus 2 root 2. All right, so those are your checkpoint problems. All right, don't forget to do your homework.